Kuruleni, the 28th annual Chris Hani commemoration. We're going to take you there live shortly, but let me tee it up for you. Earlier on, our reporter Natasha Phiri sent us this report. Take a look.
Good morning to you, and of course to our SABC viewers. We're coming to you all the way from the Titus Nkobi Memorial Park here in Ekurhuleni. Of course, this is ahead of the 28th annual Chris Hani commemoration. As you know, that we expect the Alliance Secretariat representing the ANC, the SACP and COSAI to actually pay homage to the late fallen hero who was assassinated 28 years ago on this day. But actually to talk us through more about the program of today, I'm joined by the first Deputy Secretary General of the SACP, Natasha Phiri. Thank you so much for joining us on the SABC. Quite an auspicious occasion, Natasha, but I mean, just take us through the significance of today. I mean, what Chris Hani means to you personally.
Thank you very much. Firstly, Chris Hani means much more for South Africa, because after the spilling of his blood by the assassins Janus Walus and Clive W. Lewis, the movement led by President Nelson Mandela forced the apartheid government to agree on the April 27th date for elections of South Africa. So, if you like, the April 27 freedom date, it's penciled on his blood. Of course, many martyrs of our liberation struggle. But this is very important for us to reflect on where we come from as a country, what Chris Hani stood for, and where our revolution is, and its achievement and its failures. To look into that and see how to improve it and make sure that all the people of our country, we end poverty. We have got a country full of riches. These riches must be distributed to the people. The ownership of the means of production, the economy must be shared with the people. So it shouldn't be a country that persists with elitism. So it's therefore critical that on this day, when we reflect on his life, we also reflect on where South Africa is today, because people like him, who paid the supreme sacrifice for our freedom, must actually feel happy wherever they are, that actually their contribution was not in vain.
You talk about reflection 28 years after his assassination. Do you think that the late Chris Hani would be happy with the state of the alliance right now in current day?
Well, the issues of divisions will disappoint him, but I think he will call unity like all of us. We think it's important that the alliance gets united if it's to lead the thoroughgoing revolution and the democratization of our country since the liberation wars. Because as you know, this alliance led by the ANC paid their highest sacrifices for the freedom of this country. And therefore that cannot be taken for granted, given where we come from as a country. We continued the wars of resistance fought by our forefathers and foremothers who gallantly, even at some point, you remember the Battle of Isandlwana in 1879, they defeated the British colonial army, but later on the British reinforced themselves. So, taking forward that heroic struggle of our people, the ANC ultimately took the full mantle to unite our people and to lead the final chapter of our liberation struggle to freedom. So the unity of our movement and the unity of our people, it's extremely important, and therefore at the moment it's unified behind the Constitution, the democracy that we enjoy today, the rule of law, and that's why all of this must be fully defended by all our people.
I mean, he also played a pivotal role in Umkhonto weSizwe, and I mean, 28 years down the line again. I remember, I think it was just 2 weeks ago when ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa was briefing the nation on the outcomes of the NEC, meeting that they had. He had said that the MKMVA is being used to promote factional battles and is causing disunity within the ANC. What is your reaction to that?
Well, the MK combatants played a very important role in our liberation war. And therefore we should not allow any of that glorious history to be sullified by factionalism. MK never fought against the liberation movement. In fact, its main task, even when it was established, was to support the ideals of the liberation movement. That is why it was not sectarian, and therefore became the first non-racial component within the ANC, for instance. As you know, only the Communist Party was non-racial all along, but the ANC started being non-racial practically with the involvement of MK combatants. So they were fulfilling the mission of the Liberation Organization. And of course, as you know, established jointly with the SACP, we could not allow any form of MKMVA or former combatants of Umkhonto weSizwe being used for factional purposes. Their task is to unite the movement, to defend the ideals of the movement. That task has not changed. And therefore, we agree with the President that the comrades in MKMVA, in MK National Council, must unite and establish one common legacy, because this is a shared legacy. You find now that these comrades have shared battles and very difficult times together. Now they are on the other side because of political affiliation to individuals, not to the movement. That's why the supremacy of the organization is important in this regard.
I know that the SACP has welcomed the step-aside resolution, but I mean, this week my colleagues Samgela Masego and Abongile Dumako caught up with various, leaders of the ANC and ANC officials. We heard Paul Mashatile, they're saying at the Solomon Mahlangu Memorial, saying that those who are charged should not be charged with speed, but the process must be fair to all. We heard NEC member Dakota Lekwete saying and cautioning against creating the impression that the step-aside resolution is only referred to as Mahashul. I mean, what is the SACP's reaction?
Of course, the bottom line is that any policy decision is not about an individual, but at the point of implementation, it affects one or two individuals. So the primary thing is that this decision was taken at the Mangaung conference of the ANC and never implemented. Again reaffirmed at the Nazareth conference of the ANC. It's a long time that if this was arrested earlier, we could not be having this kind of divisions we see in the movement, entrenched factionalism, which is alien to the movement. Therefore, we support the step-aside policy and will vigorously fight within the framework of the alliance in its reconfiguring form to make sure that this matter is dealt with properly, and also appreciate the fact that we should not weaponize allegations per se, because otherwise then the whole organization will be killed by factionalism. So, but we support the step-aside principle. We think it's good. It will cleanse the movement. It will also make individuals to reflect. And I think I'm quite certain that the SG will find time to reflect and consult other members, and also reflect on his own contribution in the movement, and whether he wants to solidify that or leave the movement clean, because the movement is more important than individuals. This is the point that must always be appreciated. I think that's how it must be seen from the perspective of the organization. We support the decision of the organization, not necessarily individuals who are leaders of the organization.
Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Mapaile. Thank you. Of course, that was Natasha Mapaile of the SACP, just, talking to us on a number of issues, but also there towards the end of the interview saying that as the SACP, they do support the step-aside resolution. I neither want to add more or subtract from what he said, but of course, as SABC News, we will bring you all the developments, and in regards to the Chris Hani commemoration here in Ekurhuleni, we are just awaiting for the president. Of course, the wreath-laying ceremony is the one that's actually going to start, and then the program will then probably start. As for me, it's back to you in studio.